There it is. There's the voice, the Zoom voice from above. I mean, I tell you, with all this AI, you think they make that voice a little more welcoming, less robotic. But that's, nobody at Zoom is asking me. Ladies and gentlemen and ladies, cats and dogs, children of all ages, welcome, welcome, welcome. You know who it is. It is the kid. Just, a.k.a. Uncle Pizza, the pizza freak, always resonating at that pizza frequency. What's that pizza frequency? Well, it means I love talking about pizza, I love making pizza, but mostly I love sharing pizza with people that I give a shit about. Yes, literally breaking bread with mother stinkers that I care about. And I have a sneaking suspicion that you too, my friends, you also resonate at said pizza frequency, or why else would you be here? And where is here? Happy 2025, my friends. Anything going on? Whoa, whoa. Crazy days that we've been living in as of late. I hope everybody saw my Super Bowl commercial. If you blinked, you missed me. But go to my YouTube channel, Justin Clark Dre. You'll see it there. I was the crazy clown in the Dunkin' Donuts commercial. They decided that they didn't really want to focus on the crazy clown and the burger chain gang. Your loss, Dunkin'. Your loss. But that's not what we're doing here. That's not why we're here. Oh, no. You're thinking, Just, it's been a Momo. We haven't seen you since last year. What are you and Noel up to? Well, we're bringing it back. We're bringing back the flavor. We're bringing back the health. We're bringing back the delicious pizza. We're really excited. This is a new chapter. Yes, this is office hours. Yes, this is Science of Sourdough. But this is hybrid. Science of Sourdough, office hours, to bring to you the inaugural, the world premiere of what we talked about all throughout Science of Sourdough. If you were there, you knew we were doing some groundwork down there in San Diego way, down there San Diego. You think we were just dressing up as pizzas going to Comic-Con? No. No, we were doing research. It was a write-off. And it was delicious. I'm just kidding. We're really excited because this is the birthday. This is the first birthday party for Leaven Foods. Intro to Leaven Foods, guys. We got Cameron and James down in San Diego that have been working with Noel, and they're basically going to revitalize the game. And we're going to have pizzas and breads and bagels and donuts and all manner of things that are delicious beyond compare, accessible not only for commercial, but also for the home baker. And they're going to be better for you because we're using sourdough to actually flavor and make it accessible. So we're really excited to get into the ins and outs of Leaven Foods and what they're doing down there in San Diego. Just they're in the lab with a pen in their pad with their little spinners and their baking stuff and printing out koozies. They're not printing out koozies, but they're going to print the lab. You'll see it. You'll see it. So I'm really excited, guys. We're going to get into it. What is Leaven Food? What are Cameron and James doing with Noel? What is Noel doing in his kitchen? And what's going on with Noel's nose? What's going on with Noel's new mixers? What is going on with the Pizza Expo? And where can you find them? They don't have a booth. But, you'd be looking for the handsome fellows. Or Noel, he's shrunk again. You can't even, not like this, but like this. So you're going to have a very difficult time finding him. But it's going to be fun. So without any further ado, oh no, hold on. Well, I don't have it. I don't want to run and get it. Sorry, Noel. I don't have my, here, I'll pretend like, here we go. Without any further ado, let me introduce to you Noel Brohner, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Slow Rise Pizza himself. Noel, come on down.
Justin, where's the big blue bell of pizza?
I know.
Are we that out of practice?
It's right there. It's right. Do you see it?
Don't
see
show
it?
anybody.
It's right there. It's right there. It was right there. Sorry, guys. Pay no attention to the blue bell behind the facade.
At some point, just
if you're worried
stop
about it, it's
doing
right
that. I don't
there.
want people to know. The magic is
There we go. It's very.
At
I mean,
some
that's
point
apropos.
when you turn off your camera, run over there, get
Okay,
it, and
I'll get
then
it.
we'll redo the beginning.
Okay,
We'll
yeah,
just
I got
redo
it.
it.
Well, how about back to one is what they say in the biz. No,
Back
we're
to
gonna
one is
we're
what
gonna
they
take
say.
it. Well, that was good. That was good. I got a few notes, but look, back to one, everybody. Back to one.
I thought that was some like cheesy Brian McKnight song.
It might be. It might.
Might
There's
be.
there's a lot of like double entendres these days.
Ah,
The
all
old
right,
dual meaning
all right.
is really playing these days. You know, the highs and lows, the ups and downs, the wax and wane of the caribou population, the variables in the Pete's equation. I feel like a lot of people are feeling a lot of variables these days. I, for one, have been off the news, off the socials. That's big for me. No more Insta, no more face space. But I hear you have been rather busy on the socials doing some fun things. What are you doing? Are you going to do a mix?
I am gonna do a mix. I'm getting ready to do a mix. I've got.
Nobody tells me anything. And
Well, don't, we're gonna talk about
Okay,
that. So
all right.
let's do this before we get into what I'm gonna do. Let's talk about the game plan for the day. We've got
What's
usual.
on the GP? Talk to me about the GP, would you?
So we've got about an hour, right? If anybody's pressed for time, sometimes we go a little over if we get into an interesting conversation or there's some good Q&A. So,
Always.
for people who have a hard stop at the 1 hour mark, let us know in advance and we'll make sure you get all your questions answered. And then for people who have no life like me and want to stay on for an extra 5 or 10, or you,
Yeah.
talk pizza, talk sourdough, talk science. Let's do that. All
I
right?
just want to let everybody know, I believe that you can, everyone's able to chat in the chat, but if you do have a burning question, you can put it in the chat, but we've got Jimmy and Cameron. James is going to be on kind of question and answer duty, so if you do have a burning question, you can go ahead and throw that in the old Q&A. It might be better. But still, if it doesn't get answered, go ahead and throw it in the chat. You know the dealio. But I just want to say welcome, everybody. If you haven't been here with us before, welcome. If you have, it's good to see you all again. I always like to say, go ahead and introduce yourselves. If you want to put your Insta handle or your website or your business in the chat, it's always good because like Noel and I always say, what we are trying to build here is a community. And that's why Noel likes to put this on. So people helping people is what we want to do, especially in this pizza culture where they try to divide us, but we won't let them. Noel, what are we doing?
So what we're going to do is we are going to bring Cameron on and we're going to have a little chat with him about what the heck is going on. And really, this is the beginning of the launch of Leaven Foods and our sourdough products. We have been a little bit coy, I would say, over the last year or so, really because while we've been workshopping our products, what we have been also doing is, like I keep saying it like it's a cliche, building a community of people who have a decent understanding of sourdough.
Right.
What is that background noise?
That is somebody downstairs talking. Sorry about that.
Who shall remain nameless for now. Why don't you beat her with the big blue bell when you get a chance?
You've been ixnayed. I wouldn't say stuff like that.
I know.
This is 2025.
Here's what we both know. Your wife and my wife can beat us with big blue bells because they go to the gym more than we do, don't they?
That's true, Noel. That's true. Good save. So Leaven Foods, how did this come about? Just give me a real quick snippet.
Well,
these college kids called you drunk one night.
No. Let's not jump the gun. Why don't you ring your big blue bell or whatever you've got there? Well, do me a favor.
Yeah, this is good.
Why don't you bring Cameron on as best you can?
Ladies and gentlemen, cats and dogs, children of all ages, Cameron, if you're there, come on down. buddy. How's it going?
Good. Good to see you. Thanks for the intro.
Of course.
Beautiful.
I'm going to ask for a favor, Justin. I'm going to chat with Cameron a little bit, and maybe you can go chat with your wife and let her know we're live on Zoom. Thank you. So it's hard. It's hard when you have a small apartment like I do, or like what's that kid's name again that just left? Justin. And she's got her life. He's got his life. I mean, my wife's going to walk in from the gym any moment. She's gonna Zoom bomb us, you know? But anyway, back to business. I wanted people to understand what's going on today, and I thought it would be fitting to discuss how we met, because you just reminded me of something I didn't even know. So why don't you start at the beginning so that people know how we met? We can tell them a little bit about what we've been up to. We can introduce the products, and I can also get a mix going at some point. You can do your presentation. We can answer questions and let people know about what's in store over the coming weeks as we build the suspense leading up to the Pizza Expo. What do you say?
Sounds perfect.
All right, good. So why don't you start?
Yeah, I mean, we were thinking about launching this company and thinking about working on this project. I was making some pizza, and one of my friends from grad school, and I was getting my PhD, he was a baker before. So most people go to get their PhD and then decide they don't want to do science anymore and become a baker. He did the opposite. He was the baker first and then went to science. And then, so I messaged him and I said, I'm thinking about doing this thing, but, my pizza is so-so. It's all right. It passes the test with the wife, but it's not, blowing anyone away. And we're going to need help on that front. He said, oh, I took this class with this guy, Noel, Slow Rise Pizza. You should message him. He's awesome. So I sent you this long email about bacteria and yeast.
Probably mentioned me in the class too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, okay. Just wanted to
That
make
guy
sure.
Justin.
He was very handsome. Remember the Saturn joke, the auto lease? Okay, I'll just leave it.
Go on.
And then I emailed you, and you emailed me back, which I was surprised.
You should have been surprised because I get so much spam, and I read all of it, and I usually get to about sentence 2 or 3, and I'm like, nah, spam. And then I read yours once, and I was like, what is this? I've been approached by so many different types of people, and I clicked on one of the links, and I saw like all of these like scientific projects and journals and papers you've been involved in. I'm like, is this guy for real? And I found you on LinkedIn, and you looked so for real. I was like, well, I guess I'm going to email him back. I hope this isn't spam. I hope this isn't phishing. I hope he's not trying to capture my identity or something.
No,
nobody wants that. No, nobody wants that.
So long story short, we did have an interesting conversation. And I said to him, look, normally I go to the Pizza Expo every year, but this year I'm working on like 5 projects. I don't have the time. But if you're ever serious about getting serious about doing what you say you're going to do, let me suggest this. You and your money guy, you and your investor, you and your angel investor, whoever it is that you were telling me about, you guys road trip to the Pizza Expo. You walk the floor for one day. And after walking the floor for one day, if you think that that's something you want to do, then you let me know, and we will talk about what it's going to take to one day launch your product at the Pizza Expo. And what year was that, Cameron?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. So
Yeah.
2023?
Yes, sir.
Sure was. That was awesome. And
Right
the cool
out of
thing
COVID.
was that you actually called me from the Pizza Expo saying, hey, we're on our way. We're going to be passing through LA. Pick a bar. Let's meet for a beer. And I'm like, well, Library Ale House is in walking distance. It's a great craft beer bar. You want to meet there?
Good wings, great wings.
We didn't have any wings. We had beer and great conversation, right?
We did. We talked about microbes. We talked about pizza. It was good.
I sussed you guys out. I asked you some softball questions, some hard questions, and you passed with flying colors.
Yeah, we're the real deal. We're not fishing you.
You're not. How do you spell fishing when you say fishing me? PH?
I think that's a pH. Yeah.
I think it's a pH, yeah. So, and the rest, as they say, is pizza history. We started working together. I say this I say this with love. I came to San Diego before we started working together with my peacetime pizza consigliere, Lance Roberts, and we sampled your pizza. And as you know, it was terrible, but it wasn't terrible because you made terrible pizza. It was terrible because you didn't know how to make good pizza yet. Right? So you hired me, and I came down for like 3 days, and I taught you how to make at least 2 different kinds of delicious pizza. And by the end of the 3 days, we were making delicious pizza, right?
Yes. Yeah. We're 80% of the way there. Maybe James is closer to 90, And then when we have Sienda, we're at 99.
99. So we have a small team, but everybody has their marching orders, right? And so after 2 years, we're getting ready, right? And what are we getting ready for?
We're getting ready for the product launch. The big launch. The thing we've been hinting at for a full year.
Good. All right. Do we want to put on the PowerPoint so we can launch this stuff?
So let's think about all the things we want to accomplish in the next 44 minutes. I have a mix that I'd like to do, right? And there's probably 10 minutes of mixing time. Excuse me. There's probably 5 minutes of just getting everything into the mixer. There's about a 10-minute auto lease. We don't have to go through stretch and folds or anything like that. So at some point, we'll want to start that. And I'll want to show you guys the actual microbes because I do have, I don't know if it's the final version of the microbes, but I have two bags of virgin microbes, right? Yet to be even opened.
Fresh
I got my scissor here.
Shop in San Diego. James packaged them special for you.
Good.
Wow.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we start with a little bit of your presentation, and then at a certain point, Justin, this is on you. You're going to be like, all right, whoa, enough presentation. Let's cut back to Noel, and then we'll move on. Justin, that's on you.
Noel,
you're in charge of flow.
Good. Yeah, I did. Best decision you ever made. Just because what was going on here while I was checking on libs, no flow. Now that I'm back, oh yeah, I'm feeling it.
Oh, but by the way, do you have anything you want to show me, or did you forget?
No, I got it.
Let me see it.
I had to turn. I don't think you can hear it. Can you hear it?
No, because you have your settings wrong.
Yeah, well, I had to turn my settings down because my wife is putting out fires. So look, dude, it's not unlike the pizza. It's variables in the pizza equation.
Can't have it all.
You can be a winner at the game of life.
Can't have it all.
All right, let's do this. Noel, why don't you just start your mix while Cameron does his thing, and when we're done with the thing, we can because everybody knows, everybody's seen this mix. Everybody knows. What do? You put a little water.
Let me show you what I've got. Let me show you what I've got.
Yeah, real quick.
So I've got 1,000 grams of bread flour.
Okay.
King Arthur, I love King
Arthur. Yeah, I'm falling asleep.
Hold on. I have 65 grams of, you're not going to believe it, room temperature water, a term I never use.
I'm going to revisit that later. Yep. Okay, I'm taking notes.
I know. I'm not using cold water. I'm not using
H2O question mark.
I will give you the temperatures if you want, but it's not the most important thing, because the thing I love about sourdough, so much different from IDY, ADY, fresh yeast, is that it's very forgiving.
And I guess that's what the difference is. We're not using IDY or ADY. This is a sourdough that you're basically getting in a bag.
Right.
At your supermarket, at your store, and it's going to change the game because, like we were saying earlier, it not only blasts instant dry yeast or active dry yeast out of the water, you keep it in your fridge, huh? Like yeast.
Yeah. I mean, they just shipped it to me. I haven't even opened them yet.
Put those closer to the camera. Dang.
Oh, no.
Ooh, Deja. Look at that. Getting all excited, Cam.
Yeah,
come on. Cool. Was it who did your color scheme? Rainbow Bright or Strawberry Shortcake? That's a joke. Strawberry Shortcake. Okay.
All right, so hold
So
on.
what else you got? You got
Hold on.
1,000 grams, 65
Yeah, 65
percent
grams
H2O.
of water.
Mhm.
So just so we know, it's about 70 degrees in my apartment right now.
For
This
all you
water,
pizza nerds taking notes.
yeah, it was warmer earlier, so the water's around 73.
Okay.
Just for fun,
Let's see what
the
that FT equals.
yeah, the this was in my office, so this is about
A little chillier.
68. Yeah, about
68
68.
flour. You said room temp is 73. Okay.
Yeah, and we're gonna go for a little less salt than we normally do.
What are you doing? 2%? 1.5?
Might even be 1.8.
1.8? Okay.
1.8.
Maybe 1.8, maybe 2,
So
maybe 1.5.
one of the things that I'm working on is a lot of the pizza that people make is pretty salty these days. The Neapolitan stuff is salty. The Pizza Bianca is salty.
Dan said his threshold was 2, right?
Dan from Razza is 2.
Yeah.
My education or my experience tells me that 1.8 to 2.2% in terms of baker's math of your flour weight is the general norm.
Right.
There's parts of Italy where they'll go down to like 1%, and there's parts of Italy where they go down to even lower.
But there are parts in Italy where they go to 3.6 or some crazy stuff.
They do.
I guess, Noel, one of the questions that I had real quick was that because of the flavors and the buttery, and we'll get to all this stuff that we're imparting by using the sourdoughs,
yeah,
you don't have to overcompensate by oversalting something just so people taste the crust.
It's an interesting statement that you make, and so here's where we're at. We don't know the perfect ratio right now, but one of the things that James and Cameron were doing is they were drastically undersalting their bread. So, and that's not a bad thing, right?
Well, when you're doing R&D, you need to know. You need to know.
So how low did you guys go, Cameron? You were like at 1.5 or something crazy like that?
Yeah. We were at 1.5.
So the only issue with 1.5 is that it's about, or
0.15?
No, 1.5% salt.
Okay.
You're thinking about IDY.
Oh, yeah.
So
sorry.
usually, 1.8 to 2.2 is the norm. A lot of people, especially if they use whole wheat, might go up to 2.5. Chad Robertson's a 2.5 guy. Neapolitans are 3 to 3.5, and some people go even higher. There's lots of reasons for that. But they were down to 1.5, and I said, let's not go that low because I don't know anybody that goes that low, especially in the United States. And so let's stay between 1.8 and 2.2. So for this first round, I'm right at 1.8. I'm gonna be messing around so that when we get to the Pizza Expo and we're tasting people on this stuff, I think I'll have something perfect, because one of the things that we can't really talk about yet is that we're going to be partnering with different booths, and we're going to be popping up at different booths, and we're going to be working with different companies, right? And so we want to make sure that whatever product that we are popping up with, we feature their product. And so if our bread is too salty or has too much flavor or has too much sour, then we overpower the product that we're trying to work with, right? So it's less is so much more. Let's put it that way.
Great.
Right?
Great. So how much of this magical sourdough stuff are you going to put into this recipe?
Well, let's do this. I'm going to let Cameron deal with that, but here's what I'll say. When I think about the range of yeast, right, in any product, in general, and I'll just talk about IDY because it's the simplest way, to start. Most pizza starts with anywhere from 0.1 IDY to 0.2 to 0.3 to 0.4, even 0.5 for like a quick dough as a percentage. So 0.1% of flour weight. There's a bunch of Neapolitan guys that go way lower. They go like 0.015 IDY, right? One of my mentors, that's real low. Or the equivalent of about 0.045 fresh yeast, right? So that's a really, and you can go lower than that, right? And you can go higher than that too. Some of my clients who, no offense to them, don't know what they're doing. They're at 1.5% fresh yeast. They're just out of their minds, even higher. But anyway, I'm getting off point. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with the equivalent of 0.1, and I'm gonna let Cameron and James explain what the inclusion rate looks like. So why don't I do this? Why don't I get my water into the bowl? Why don't I get my flour into the bowl? Why don't I start mixing, right? And I'll keep my mic off, right? I'll turn my camera on so you can see what I'm doing.
Great.
And then when it comes time to actually add the yeast, I'm going to ask for Cameron and James to help
Wrap it
me
up.
figure out what the inclusion rate is, what the basic math is, and I'm pretty sure that's going to change by the time we get to market in a few weeks. But I don't know anything. I'm just a pizza guy.
Fantastic. All right, Noel, why don't you get that mix started? Cam, you want to show us a little presentato?
Absolutely.
Let's get this boat on the show. All right, Noel, knock it off. I will see you guys in just a few. Thank you very much, Cam.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about what we are. Basically, the email that I sent to Noel, what the goal of the company actually is and what we're presenting on here, what Noel's using in his mixer. So, kind of one of the main things we started with as a company, something James and I have talked about for a long time, is this massive amount of microbial diversity that's found in nature for all these different types of fermented foods. So if you're talking about brewing, so beer and wine, there's all these varieties of beers and wines that you can get. You can get an ale, you can get a lager, you can all get it in one place. And for baking and chocolate and coffee, all these things occur in nature. So the sourdough that you make at home is different from the sourdough somebody else makes somewhere else. And they all impart these different flavors that occur naturally. And the same is true for the chocolate and coffee. The chocolate that's made in West Africa or the coffee that's made in South America has these different flavors that are hard to control, but you can find out in nature. But when you look at what's available commercially, there's very few things that are available for baking. So the thing that allows brewers to make all these different types of beers, while you can go to a single small microbrewery and get an ale and a lager in the same place, is that they can go onto these websites and buy all these different types of yeast that allow them to operate in different times or utilize the ingredients that they buy differently. And it's just as important as the hops and the schedule that they use is the yeast that they use. And we don't think it's right that, for baking and these other fermentation industries, you have essentially no options. You get one baker's yeast, or you have to try and harness these kind of natural fermentations that can be difficult to manage. And so what the goal of our company is to provide naturally occurring microbial communities. So these are yeast and bacteria that work together to ferment raw ingredients, in this case, flour, to easy to use formats. So that food producers, you guys, can take those tools and use them to enhance your products. So it's essentially a new tool for you in the same way that you could have different types of flour to change the flavor of your product or the qualities of your product. You could have different types of microbes, different from instant yeast that you have now to produce different types of breads. And so when you think about this, right now, there's one baker's yeast that's available. It was isolated in the late 1800s. It contains a single yeast that was isolated from the environment at some point. And your other choice is sourdough, which has, been used for most of human history. There's hundreds and thousands of different microorganisms that are found across different people's sourdoughs that produce different flavors. And they produce a great flavor. So these complex communities of different microbes work together to produce a more complex flavor that you get from a sourdough than you do from a single organism like the baker's yeast that you have now. They also make the bread more health friendly. So there's lots of research out there about sourdough under different conditions. It matters how you use it as much as the sourdough itself, but it can impart a lot of health benefits to the bread. It also can help people reduce or remove the additives that they're adding to the bread to extend the shelf life. So sourdough naturally extends the shelf life. It prevents molding. All that acid prevents molds from coming onto the bread. And there's lots of other factors around that too. But it's difficult to manage, right? Especially at scale. So if you know, I'm sure all the bakers on the call know, you know, you're waking up at 3 a.m. to check on your starter. Noel can attest to this too. You have a starter emergency, and now you have to, you know, figure out how you're going to make all your dough because the starter just didn't work that day. And that's because it's a zoo of microbes in there. But you don't know what's in your zoo. And you're trying to keep all the animals alive in there. It could be penguins, it could be lions, you don't know. And it's kind of amazing that people are even able to interact with nature in that way. It's a beautiful thing. But we have a lot of pizza to make for people. And that's why a lot of bakers switch to baker's yeast, just because it's easy, it's quick. You can make the same dough anywhere, every time, and you can scale it. So what we're offering is the best of both worlds. So it's wild yeast and bacteria from a sourdough designed to work together. So we take a sourdough that we made here in the lab, and then we isolated the bacteria and the yeast, and we reformulate them into a dry powder without any kind of genetic modification. They're totally as they're found in nature. We reblend them, and then you can add them right to flour and water like Noel just did, or is about to do, to leaven your dough. And you get all the benefits of the sourdough in terms of the flavor, the health-friendly nature, the extended freshness, but with the properties of baker's yeast. So it's easy, quick, you can scale it, you can make the same dough anywhere, and you can get a reproducible product just like you do with baker's yeast. And Noel's about to show, I think, some of the first two products. We have two products that we're launching in a week. We're going to probably open pre-orders. So stay tuned and follow us on Instagram for that. The first one we're calling all-purpose, like an all-purpose flour. It imparts a very balanced flavor. So it's sour, but it's also fruity and buttery and toasty. So if you had a really good sourdough and, you know, it doesn't have that super biting sour flavor, but it's a really nice complex sourdough. And then we're offering a wild yeast as well. So this is just the yeast from the sourdough, but it's very different from your traditional baker's yeast strain, especially in flavor. So it produces a buttery, fruity, and toasty flavor. It doesn't have any of the sour from the sourdough. It's like if you made your sourdough starter and exclusively just took the yeast out of it and used it. So it's kind of a way for people to make, you know, interesting flavors, but not necessarily sourdough. And then, you know, as a tease in the future, pretty soon here, we're working on launching this next, is the San Francisco sour is what we're calling this one. This is that really sour, kind of biting sourdough that, you know, a lot of people are familiar with. And that'll be next. We'll have some samples of that at the Pizza Expo, I think, Noel. I think that's the plan. So if you're at the Pizza Expo and you want to try it, ask us and we can give you some bread to try probably. That's the end. I kept it short and sweet. I just wanted to give people an idea of what we've been up to during this whole time.
That was short and sweet. I like it.
That's awesome. I'm so excited. So we get the flavor options of sourdoughy dough, but none of the learning curve, none of the nurturing.
Yes.
I
yes
wouldn't say
no.
none.
No.
I wouldn't say none. Would
Well,
you say none?
Yeah.
You've taken out a lot of the heavy lifting,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
accessibility, maybe that initial, oh, I got to discard and I have to keep it alive and I got to feed it and I'm wasting flour every time. If I'm feeding it, you know, some expensive flour from some crazy mill by some spring in Oregon or Portland or wherever, you're spending that because they don't do free shipping even on the big bags.
Sound a little bitter, Justin.
I'm not bitter. I'm buttery, baby. I'm buttery.
Good. Excellent. Excellent segue.
Yes.
All right. So let's see. Right now, I have just mixed my dough. Are you spotlighting that for me, Justin? Let's spotlight me and my dough if you don't mind. And we can keep Cameron in the mix too. Good. So there's my dough. And this is a dough that I just mixed. It's got flour and water, no yeast, no salt, because there's not yeast. There's only going to be sourdough that we're adding. And so I just mixed it for 1 minute and 45 seconds. I'm not trying to build any gluten. And my temperature right now for the dough is about 76 degrees. All right. So I'm going to treat this dough a little bit differently than I would yeasted dough. I'm going to treat it more like sourdough. And so I didn't do a desired dough temperature exactly, and I didn't figure backward like I usually do in my classes if I want the dough to end up at 78 or 72 or whatever the temperature is. I'm just kind of free-forming it here, right? Because that's one of the beauties of sourdough. You can shoot for 80 degrees, and if it comes out at 85, no problem. If it comes out at 90, no problem. I wouldn't go from 90 to 95. You can get into problems there, but if you're in the, let's say, the 70, 78 to 85 or even 90 degree range, you're good. Especially when you have a low inclusion rate. You've got plenty of time, right? Much different than commercial yeast, wouldn't you say, Cameron?
Yes,
All
definitely.
right, good. So what we're doing now is we're auto leasing, and that started at 5:32, and now we're at 5:37. So it's been about 5 minutes. So why don't we do this? We have 2 different yeasts or microbe combinations that we can use. I think we should go with the wild yeast this week, and maybe we'll go with the all-purpose next. What do you say?
Good to me.
Good. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this back in the fridge. Do we know what the shelf life is on this stuff?
We're aiming for 3 to 4 months, but like like I said, this is the beginning of the launch, and so we're testing it as we go too.
All right, good. So
but keep
as
it in
with
the fridge.
good, as with fresh yeast or instant dry, you want to keep it in the fridge. Good. All right. So
Yes.
I've got my skizzers, as Justin would say. Open this guy up. I have not used this particular blend before, so I'm very excited. And so I've got my drug scale ready to go. Let's get it on. So in terms of inclusion rate, right? If I normally would use only 1 gram of IDY for this particular batch of this particular mix, we're talking about taking the amount of IDY that we normally use and multiplying it times 4. Am I correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
And that's
so I'm
something that will improve over time. Baker's yeast has had 200 years to perfect their concentration and their protocols for making it. And so we're playing catch up. But on the website, when we launch, we'll have a calculator that people can go to. So you can choose what you use now, whether it's instant dry yeast or active dry yeast or fresh yeast or even a starter. And you type in the amount you're using now, and it'll tell you for each product how much you should use, what the multiple is. So you don't have to do any math. We'll do it for you.
Good. And so I want to remind you that I do want to go back before the end of this Zoom and tell people, or just explain to people, some of our pizza and bread friends who've already gone through this process, this testing process with us. Some of them were using ADY, IDY, fresh yeast, sourdough, you name it. And so we had you created the same calculator but with different numbers. So I've got this open right now, and I'm going to shoot for 4 grams, right?
Correct.
All right, good. Give me a second here. This is a very, very accurate scale. It's accurate to 5/100ths of a gram, so we're up to 1, almost 2, almost 3.
Noel, can you tell me what the consistency is?
That's a good question. To me, it looks a lot like a finer version of instant dry yeast. I will show you, but it's going to be hard to see. All right, so I've got my 4 grams. So if I show you like this, can you see?
It almost looks like a powder.
It is. It's exactly like a powder.
So a little bit different than like you would say. I would say like IDY and ADY are like almost granules.
How would you answer this question, Cameron, since you're the
No,
master?
he's correct. At some point, we'd like to move to what they call an extruded product, like a cake extruder is how they make those yeasts.
Mm.
So they take that fresh
It's
yeast
like a
that you
pasta. It's like a
exactly,
very teeny pasta.
exactly.
Gotcha.
But we haven't perfected that yet, so we're sticking with the powder because
It's a lot of
it's higher
tooling and a lot of
quality.
machining there, right? I'm
Right.
sure.
Yeah, that's the big money. When we get to the big money, we can start making the micro pasta. But for now,
So what was
powder.
that big package that you pulled out of the bag, Noel?
Yes, that's a good point. We want to put that back in.
Oh, put that back in the bag. Why?
Yes.
So, Cam, why is that importante?
So that's a desiccant package. It just keeps the microbes dry. So the way that we make the microbes is we grow them and then we freeze dry them, like that ice cream that astronauts eat.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
Yeah. So they're frozen like Han Solo in Star Wars.
Yeah,
And
carbonite.
they stay that way as long as they stay dry. So what activates them is water, and that's why they get activated in the dough. But we want to prevent the water from getting in the bag until we're ready to use them. So we have that desiccant pack in there to absorb water when we open the bag, close the bag.
Keep things dry, right?
Exactly.
Because once it hits the water, it gets activated and it gets the boat on the show.
Exactly.
Okay.
Good.
All right, Noel.
All right,
So you're choosing.
Here's my suggestion. I'm going to add this 4 grams, right, of basically wild yeast, right? No bacteria, just wild yeast. And maybe you can, while I'm mixing, you can explain to people what the difference is between, the commercial Saccharomyces cerevisiae that we're used to getting and the wild version that we've got in this package. I have my flavor wheel here, right, that I've been studying, and also I've been doing home tastings. But maybe you can go into some detail about why we even have this and what some of the benefits are, what some of the flavor and aromas that people can expect. I'm gonna mute myself while I'm mixing so you don't hear me. But for people who have taken my classes before, and I see a lot of you out there who have, this is just the basic improved mix, right? So you do, let's say, a minute 45 just to incorporate. A quick auto lease. In this case, we're looking at 10 minutes, so which is fine. I'm going to add the microbes, mix for a minute. Then I'm going to add the salt, mix for 2. And then I'm going to go to probably second speed for a minute or 2, third speed for a minute or 2, and then we're done. I'll temp it again, but I'm not too worried. I'm going to get the dough out of the mixer. I'm going to put it into one of these nice little Cambros with some olive oil in it. I might do a few stretch and folds, and then let's say I get all that done by 6 o'clock. I'm going to probably do about a 4-hour bulk, and I'll probably ball these into about 6 280, 285 gram dough balls, and I'm going to make 2 pizzas a day for the next 3 days, and I'm going to be monitoring the flavor, the color, the performance. Aroma, thank you. Also the pH. Right?
Oh.
Yeah. So let me get this going.
Noel,
let me mute myself. Yes,
everybody
Justin?
will be able to follow that journey on the grams and stuff, correct?
Well, we're going to see. I mean, yes.
I'd love to see every day you do the 2 pizzas.
Well,
and
I
what
know
you
that
find.
you would like to, but let me tell you
I'm
something.
not on. I'm telling Dave.
I'm telling you what you'd like to. You're telling me what you'd like to see, but let me tell you what's going to happen. All right. I'm bribing my wife right now with pizza. She always complains that I make pizza for everybody but her.
She just wants onion pies.
Well, in Argentina, they do this white pie with onions, and so yesterday I got a bunch of onions from the farmer's market, and I roasted them very slowly. Oh. And then on Wednesday, once again, I'm going to get some different kinds of onions, some sweet Vidalias or whatever they have, and I'm going to slow roast those as well. So we're going to be eating a lot of pizza, and if I can get any shots of it, we definitely will. But these first couple rounds are for my wife, because then I'm going to go to San Diego in a week or so, and I'm going to leave her, and then we're gonna get some of that beautiful crumb shots and all the stuff people like to see posted on Instagram. All right.
Great. All right. Well, as you mix now, just real quick though, Noel, no sugar, no olive oil in this mix.
No.
Why? Why?
Well, here's what I would say. When I teach people to make pizza, I use olive oil and sugar kind of as insurance policies, right? Especially in the beginner class. I don't know how much fermentation time people are going to have. I don't know if they're mixing in warm or cold environments. I don't know what kind of oven they have. You know, their oven might say it's at 550, but it might be at 450.
Right.
So,
variables in the pizza equation.
yeah, so a little bit of a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of sugar go a long way. But most of my favorite pizza makers use neither sugar or olive oil, maybe a teeny bit of malt depending. And some people use a little bit of olive oil, but like Joey at Folks, right? Nothing. Just good old-fashioned flour, salt, water, and, sourdough.
But also, we're going to get a lot of the color and the caramelization from the yeast, right?
From fermentation.
From the fermentation. Okay, great.
Yeah, now don't go using that word yeast in willy nilly because your Cameron's going to get mad at you.
Okay.
So let's do this.
Cam. Sorry,
Cam. I'm gonna mute myself. I'm gonna get my mix going, just like I explained. I'll let you know when I'm done. And Cameron, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of walk us through a little bit about what I was just talking about. All right. And I apologize in advance. I've got a lot going on. If my camera tips over as it's already done, I'm out of practice. And I have never mind. I'm muting. Bye.
All right, so the yeast that Noel's using here is a wild yeast. It's kind of what we use the term colloquially. It's not really a scientific term, but what we're trying to get at is that yeast was isolated from a sourdough, and then it hasn't been altered in any way. So we always go back from the original yeast that we pulled from the sourdough to make new product. We never pass it over again. And what that does is it keeps it from getting what we call domesticated, just like you would a dog. So, how I would make an analogy for the yeast is that, when you're using baker's yeast, you're kind of using your golden retriever because it's been used for so long, since the late 1800s, it's been passed multiple times. And they've come up with these breeds, is what they call them, of the yeast, which is really good at making certain things, making gas mainly. And they kind of just use that one strain because it's easy to grow and manufacture and sell. And they've been doing it for a long time. And then this yeast is very different in that, we pulled it straight out of a sourdough. It makes very different flavors. So it makes a very different aroma as well. So it's buttery, it's toasty. It doesn't have much of that baker's yeasty flavor that people attribute to baker's yeast. It's one of those things I think you have to try. That's why we're going to the Pizza Expo. I think people will be surprised when they try it how different it is. But just like beer, you can make a beer with the same ingredients and get a totally different flavor at the end. And as we keep going as a company, there's all types of different yeasts that we can use to make different flavors. So we've been teasing a yeast that makes a banana flavor for a long time to Noel. So there's a yeast that naturally makes banana flavored metabolites when it breaks down the sugars in the dough. And so you kind of have like a banana afternote. There's all different types of yeast like this, not just banana, but sweeter, more savory, different types of yeast that can be found in nature that we pull out of nature and then manufacture in a way that's easy to use. And so this yeast is no different. And main difference between baker's yeast is just the domestication and the source. So it's just a different strain of that Saccharomyces cerevisiae than what typical baker's yeast is. Did I answer your question, Noel?
You did. Sorry, it's a little noisy here. I'm about to go into second speed. What about, can we have a look at the flavor wheel?
Yes.
And what would be interesting to me is maybe we could look at the flavor wheel of the 3 different products that we're going to be launching, as well as I know there's one flavor wheel which is just like sourdough compounds in general, and maybe you can just kind of review those for people who aren't familiar or who have not been part of our Science of Sourdough presentations. And Justin, do me a favor, can you put the link to the Science of Sourdough playlist in the chat? Thank you.
Okay, so we're launching with 2 different blends that will be available for pre-order soon. So that's the all-purpose. This is a yeast and a bacteria from a sourdough. So it contains 2 bacteria, 2 different species, and a yeast as well. The all-purpose is kind of balanced to be a mild sour. So just like you can alter your sourdough hydration and things like that to alter the flavor through these external factors of what your final sourdough would taste like or what your starter will taste like, we can alter the blend of the different microbes that we put into the product to change the flavor of that product. So, for example, if we wanted to decrease the sourness, we would just decrease the amount of bacteria powder we add with the yeast. So we have direct control over the flavor more than you could through traditional processes. This, in addition to the sour, has the same yeast that's in the wild yeast. So this wild yeast is also in the all-purpose. The difference is we just took out the bacteria for the wild yeast so that you're only getting the yeast flavors and none of the sourness from the bacteria. So like I said, we have full control. So unlike a sourdough starter where you'd have to try and finagle the hydration or something like that to increase the yeast population over the bacteria to get a less sour dough, we can directly do that by decreasing the amount of bacteria that's in the product. So we just change the microbe blends themselves because we have them all independently before we put them in the bag. In the same way, and we're not going to launch this product yet, but in the same way for the San Francisco sour, we just add more of the same ratio of bacteria to the yeast, so that now instead of a 10-to-1 bacteria to yeast ratio like you have with the all-purpose, you'd have 100-to-1 with the San Francisco sour, which gives you that super sour sourdough. But in the future, there's a whole world of different flavors that you can make with different yeasts and bacteria that are found in nature. So we're constantly getting sourdoughs donated to us and studying new sourdoughs and making new doughs with different yeasts or bacteria that we find out in nature and uncovering different flavors that we could make in the future. And those range dramatically from, like I said, like these kind of fruity flavors, like a mango or a banana or an apple flavor, just from the yeast or the bacteria, all the way to something, that maybe wouldn't be desirable. We've made breads that taste like sauerkraut by taking, a bacteria that makes a lot of flavors that's similar to that. So, in some cases, it could be overwhelming. In some cases, it could be good. But, we're constantly finding new flavors. And that's kind of the goal of the company is someday, just like brewers have, we would have all these different varieties of yeast and bacteria with known flavor profiles that people can make different types of bread. Just a different tool in the arsenal, a different color paint for your paintbrush.
Yeah, it seems like we could have a double pickle caramel smoke.
Someday.
Yeah, that's all I want.
Smoke.
Yeah, double pickle caramel smoke.
Someday
Why not?
We'll call it the Justin Dre.
Yeah, the JD, the the Uncle Pizza. We got a good. Alex is asking a really good question. Now, could you use this to build a biga or a poolish? Noel, any thoughts on that? Instead of adding it to this, could you add? What would be the inclusion rate? Say if you were adding it to your biga or your poolish.
All right, it's a great question, and we have many answers for that. I'm going to start with one, and then I'll let Cameron give another. So when we were developing these products, right, we gave our earlier versions of these products to some of our favorite bakers, right? Pizza and bread bakers. Now, some of them were using sourdough, some of them were using poolish, some of them were using biga, some of them were using instant dry, active dry, and fresh. That was the idea. Some of them were even using multiple pre-ferments in the same doughs, right? Some of them were using fresh yeast in two different ways. They do a biga and also add fresh yeast later on in the process. Some people would do the same thing with IDY or ADY. Some people would do let's say, for instance, a poolish or a biga made with fresh yeast, and then they would add sourdough later on in the process. So we asked people to experiment, right, and do their best and let us know what the result was. And so sometimes the results were incredible, sometimes the results were less than incredible, and sometimes the results were in between. But the most important thing for us is that we got a lot of information from some of our favorite bakers all over the country. And so it allowed us to use their feedback to try to make a product, or in our case, 3 different products that we're starting with, that addressed all of the strengths and weaknesses that we found in the testing that we did for a couple of months. Cameron, am I misstating anything?
No, I think you got it. That was the goal. That's what we gave it to them.
That was
So yes, you could use it. Is that
the answer is yes, you could use it. And then the second part, you asked what would the inclusion rate be?
Well, I just was curious about that.
So here's the thing. The inclusion rate can range depending on your temperature and your time, as you already know.
Certainly.
And
the inclusion rate for IDY in like a poolish is like 0.0033. Like it's minuscule, correct?
It's minuscule, yes. But it depends, because you can make a poolish in 4 hours and you can make a poolish in 18 hours.
I'm saying like for a 17-hour or whatever, based on some of the stuff we've done, it's very minimal.
Correct.
But if you were doing a 17-hour at quote unquote 70 degree-ish room temperature, or 72 or 23 degrees Celsius or 24 Celsius, like you would basically multiply 0.003.
Let's not worry about the math. Here's what you would do. You would go to the calculator that Cameron is going to have on the website.
Is that also an app?
Justin, you're getting ahead of yourself.
Where's the app?
One day an app, right? Actually, knowing Cameron, he's already got an app and he's just not telling me because he works very quickly.
I need an app developer. So once you guys have it down, you let me know.
So Justin, cool your jets for a second here. You're getting ahead of yourself. So here's the thing. What we are going to do is we're going to launch a product, right? And this we're allowing people to kind of like get a little bit inside of what we're thinking, what we're doing, and we're going to launch this product at the Pizza Expo. At the Pizza Expo itself, I'm going to be mixing this product in a variety of ways, right? Straight into the dough, as a poolish, maybe as a biga, definitely as a sourdough that we're feeding. And I'm going to let people try it, right? And I'm going to let people ask questions. And we're going to encourage people to ask questions that will allow them to then purchase the product. And in a perfect world, we're going to do these office hours every week. And it's going to be open to people who have purchased or pre-purchased the product. It's going to be open to people who are curious about the product. And it's going to be open to people who just want to listen and ask questions. But for us, it's not like we have, $5 million and we have a whole team of people that's been doing the kind of things that big companies would do who would launch a product like this. It's Cameron, it's James, it's Sienna, it's me. Anybody else? It's our wives who are eating the pizza and giving us feedback.
Definitely not me, because they're not even inviting me to the Pizza Expo, ladies and gentlemen.
You're not invited this year. You were invited, Justin, in 2020, and what happened?
You made the pandemic.
Well, you showed up there, and you were the only one there. I had to bring you back.
I got the video.
Dangerous.
I might have to put that video
Dangerous, Justin.
In the chat. All right.
You were literally the only one in the convention center.
So I have a couple questions before we skedaddle. What's going on with your dough?
Good. So I mixed my dough, and it came out at 78 degrees.
Perfect.
All right. And so that's what I was actually shooting for, because when I am mixing sourdough, I'm usually shooting for 78 to 80. And it's only about 70 degrees in my apartment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend the next 4 hours. I'll do a couple of stretch and folds based on my window pane test.
2 at 30?
Probably two. I'll probably do one at 30 and another, depending on how that one goes, maybe the second one in an hour, or I'll do one in an hour and one at 2. But I'm most likely going to do, a 4-hour bulk.
Great.
Right? And then I'm
And
going
then
to ball. Yeah.
Okay.
Right? I could do a 2-hour bulk. I could do a 1-hour bulk. But the thing is, I'm trying to get as much fermentation in there as possible, like I would with an IDY, an ADY, or a fresh yeast product.
But you're not going to put it in the fridge overnight to do bulk.
I am going to put it in the fridge overnight.
After you ball it?
After I ball it. Because here's what I'm trying to do. Remember when we used to do the beginning class and we would give people 3 different options? One would be to ball immediately.
Number A, number B, number C.
One would be to ball after maybe 4 hours, and one would be to bulk retard and then ball the next morning, depending on, right? I'm gonna be stress testing this dough in exactly the same way. So when I talk to people at the Pizza Expo and they say, this is what I do, what do you recommend for the product? I'll either say the exact same thing or make one change. And here's the change that I've made, and here are the results. And your results may vary because, as you always say, Justin, what do you always say?
I say those are variables in the pizza equation. You got to figure them out.
So many variables in the pizza
There are variables in the pizza equation. But what's really exciting about this, and I think it's taken us back to something that we've always been really about. It's all about that Foun-da dough, right? This brings it back to the foundation of pizza. And I always say, if you don't have a solid foundation, you can't build upon it, whether it be people or pizza. This is about the dough. This is about the bread. This is about the thing that we're putting the condiments on, the toppings on. And I really think that not only for the health benefits, but all the flavor opportunities and the ease of access, it's really going to be a game changer. So it's really exciting, guys.
It is really exciting. And I cannot tell you exactly who we're working with yet, because the companies that we're working with at the Pizza Expo, who we're popping up and collabing with, they're being so generous to allow us to pop up at their booths that, they all have these media strategies, and so I'm not allowed to jump the gun. But I'll say this. One of our favorite pizza makers in the world, who shall remain nameless, has a tomato company. Right? The tomato company shall also remain nameless. We're going to be popping up at that booth all 3 days, right? And we're going to be pairing different sourdough breads with those different tomato sauces. And I think for me, and you know me, Justin, less is way more. For me, I call olive oil and Maldon salt pizza. Right? I call rosemary and garlic and chili flakes pizza. Some people will be like, no. There's no sauce, there's no cheese, there's no pepperoni. So to have the opportunity to work with one of my favorite sauce manufacturers, tomato farmers, and just have it be bread and tomato sauce is like something that I cannot put a price on.
Whether it be people or pizza, you don't have a solid foundation. How can you build upon it? In that interest, let's bring out Jimmy. Jimmy, if you're there, I want you to come out here and say hello to everybody. I know that you and Cam can't speak at the same time, but this is the other half, or the other triumvirate, or the other quarter of the Leaven Foods. Hey, James. How you doing,
everybody.
brother?
Thanks for coming, and thanks for the questions.
Yeah. So Noel, just real quick. So next week we're going to do this again, and what's going to be a little different? You might be doing a different mix. You might be using a different mixer. What's the G pizzle, so we can let the people know.
hopefully by next week, we're going to get the okay from some of the companies that we're working with that we can say who they are. And so one of the companies that we're working with, I'm super excited about because they're coming out with a brand new mixer. And I have that mixer. In fact, they sent me the mixer before it was even manufactured as a test, right? And unbeknownst to everybody but me and you, Justin, you now have that test mixer, which you're never allowed to show.
I don't know anything about it, but
You're never allowed to show
you have to
anybody.
tell them it's clicking. It's clicking. It's like knocking.
I'm not going to say anything, but
I'm not
I
saying
have the
anything.
brand new mixer. I haven't even unboxed it yet.
I'm saying it. But if you
And
want to
so-
trade that one for the knocking one,
Instead of working with my KitchenAid next week, I'm going to be hopefully working with that tabletop spiral mixer.
oh, cool.
And then 2 weeks from now, I will be joining James and Cameron in San Diego, if everything goes right. And we'll be mixing on their spiral mixer there.
Great.
And they also have a Pizza Master oven there. So we might be doing even a little bit of baking. Who knows?
Now, Noel, maybe next Monday, because we're going to go same bat time, correct?
Yeah.
Maybe will you take some pics and maybe you'll be able to show us your Tuesday, your Wednesday, your Thursday bakes
I can
on the same thing?
neither confirm nor deny the possibility of that happening.
I think a lot of people want to know.
And I want to know, and I want to let
Inquiring
them know.
minds.
But here's the thing, Justin. There's this. There's got to be some mystery. If you give everybody everything at the beginning, why do they want to even show up next week?
Because
Why
next
do they
week you're
even-
using a different mixer.
Why
and
do
you're
they
gonna
even
be
want
using-
to come to the Pizza
I
Expo to
can't
try
wait.
what we're doing?
I can't wait to see Abe Beezy's reviews on the pies every day this week. It's going to be very exciting.
You should know this about me. All right, there's two Noels.
Mhm.
There's Pizza Noel, and there's
ABC
adoring
Noel.
husband Noel.
I
Now,
know them both.
adoring husband Noel
I know.
serves his wife a pizza and doesn't ask her to wait so that I can get the angle on the
She'll bite
crust,
your hand off.
the crumb.
She'll bite your hand off. I know.
She just wants to eat it in peace.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe
All right.
have a delicious beer.
All right. Tell her to call me. I gotta wait.
So I can neither confirm nor deny
Okay.
what may or may not happen in the next 7 days. But I will tell you this: when I am with Cameron and James in San Diego, we're going to be making a lot of pizza. We're going to be photographing a lot of pizza, and then when we
Right.
finally get to the Pizza Expo, away we will go.
Well, very exciting. 10 after 6. I think we covered all the bases. Noel's going to do a couple stretch and folds. Really excited to get some, just some reaction and see what Noel does for the next couple days. This is the natural. What was the wild yeast? And how they progress, this and that in the old refrigerator and how they play. Now you plan on just baking these in your 500, 550 oven on the stone in the bottom, correct?
Yeah,
Or you
I'm gonna-
thinking of taking it somewhere else, maybe doing
No.
it?
I think
Okay.
I'm just going to bake here, and I've done this before. I've been doing this for months already, and so I'm baking at about 525, 550.
Right.
I can do pan pizzas, I can do hearth pizzas, I can do bread. I'll probably do one like 13, 14-inch pizza and one bread in a nice pan with
Right.
just a little bit of olive oil, maybe some Maldon salt like I like, so you can get the unadulterated version. And then I'll do one actual pizza. At the Pizza Expo, like I said, we'll be serving different variations of sourdough bread. I'll be popping up at one of my favorite oven companies, and we're going to be doing some awesome pizza, as in round pizza with toppings. And then I'll be popping up on 2 occasions at one of my favorite mixer companies, and I will be showing people how to mix with microbes on 2 different days. So
Fantastic.
as soon as we're allowed, we'll let people know all the schedules. Also, for people who are not going to make it, there's going to be, hopefully, we'll be able to capture some of that on video. We'll be able to get some good photos, and then we're going to be able to do exactly what we're doing and more in the future on Monday office hours, and we will have the benefit of having our actual product being launched. And like we used to do in class, we will be, if you guys want, we'll be mixing with you, we'll be baking with you, we'll be stretching and folding with you, we'll be talking about different recipes and desired dough temperatures and all that fun stuff that you and I love, right?
Variables in the pizza equation, everybody. Let's do this together. Remember, pizza is a community. It's about breaking bread, and we're happy to be breaking that bread with you guys. Jimmy, Cam, thank you so much for holding down Sandeezy for us. There's some swag. I'm correct? Do I have a bag? Do I have a shirt? Maybe, James, you show me the shirt. Cam, do you hold up the bag that we've got?
Ooh.
11 Foods. Didn't you just have it? All right. So it's not available just yet, but I was told by next week there might be a portal on the old website and stuff like that will be swimming around the Pizza Expo. Yeah, Cam?
Oh, yeah.
Great.
We'll have a special bag, our Justin Dre bag.
There you go. Yeah, with a koozie in it. Maybe a blunt. I didn't say that. No, I'm being blunt. Never mind. It's Vegas. It's 2027, for God's sakes. Gentlemen, thank you so much. This is terribly exciting. I'll be sending you my address just to get my free goodie bag so Unc Joss can start fiddling about. You know the dilly-o. Cam, Jim's, why don't Cam, you start, say your goodbyes. James will go to you. Noel, you'll wrap us out, and then I will take us home.
Yeah, thank you everyone for coming, especially the Science of Sourdough people. It's nice to see some familiar names.
Yeah, thanks everybody again. Great questions and looking forward to seeing you next week.
Beautiful. James, thanks for handling the chat and all the questions. Cameron, thanks for your presentation and your knowledge. And Justin, thanks for keeping it real with us and for keeping us on schedule. And thanks for finding your big blue bell. Apologies to your beautiful wife. All my scolding is in jest, of course. Where would we be without them? So thanks to everybody that showed up. This is a little bit of an experiment, just like everything that we do, right, Justin?
Yeah, it is really exciting. I'm very excited. The way that we approach pizza, I always think pizza is a metaphor, and I think it extends. Really, you guys know the Pizza Frequency is about basically wanting people to come together and sharing with them is really where that lies. And if we can elevate that which we build upon, I think that everyone will benefit. And this is a really exciting way to have that accessibility, but also be able to dial in and find new flavors, because the commoditization of the whole food industry, whether that be Dino Bites or the mass, the bromated or the flours, let's find, not only goes back to our healthy thing, let's find like that the fun in the food. And it can also be healthy, but it can also taste great. And this is a step in the right direction. And I think, and we'll get into this next time, the cost benefit analysis, when we talk about it next week, is really going to blow your minds, because it doesn't take a lot to have a lot of benefits. So with that, I'm going to close it out. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us. I know these days are strange, right? These are kind of weird days. So what we like to say is, belong with one another, because it's the opposite of being short, because we all belong here together. And at Slow Rise Pizza, we do not get into the politics of pepperoni and pineapple. Oh no, my friends, we say pizza always, and always pizza, pieces and slices with love.